Everyone makes jokes.
I would gladly blow myself up.
The reaction seemed intense.
It was dramatic in that sense because obviously it blew up on Twitter and obviously the moment itself, some people make mistakes. You know, I don't know what he thinks about me.
You don't have contact with him now?
No.
Okay, so the first time I ever saw you in content was on the kickoff.
Yep.
How did you get on there? How did that come about?
The football media world's very small, so I've probably worked with, at some point, some of the producers that were on it, and James Alcott obviously had a role on the kickoff, and we'd worked together at Ball Street, and it kind of built into the kickoff, and just through sort of osmosis, I guess, in the community. I think it started in 2018, maybe slightly earlier than that, 17, 18, around that time, and I was on in 2019, so I was in quite early, actually, in one of the older studios, sort of where the setting was. It was revolutionary in terms of the execution. The guys that produced it, the guys that shot it, the camera guys, the editors, the presenters, of course, everyone on the table. It was on some level, you know, it was a revolutionary format in this space for how quality it was, the image quality of some of the shots, cameramen with these unbelievable, you know, abilities to get beautiful shots live talking about football. It hadn't been seen before. There were watch-alongs before. It wasn't the very first watch-along ever seen on YouTube. But the execution of it was crazy.
And the dynamic between you guys on there worked really well. And then it all went wrong. What was that like? So for people who haven't got any context, so True Geordie, who was the owner of the kickoff, is fair to say?
Yeah.
And one of the presenters on there as well. He made it wasn't during a kickoff stream or anything, was it? But he made a joke. That did not go down well. A lot of people felt like it crossed the line.
Are you fighting Andrew Tate? Mate, come on.
Andrew Tate's got God on his side now. There's no way Brian would win that.
Although I would gladly blow myself up if I could take that bag with us.
That's the use of a stereotype there, which is obviously not what he...
I'm just saying, if he really wants to prove it, do the right thing.
And that seemingly put a stop to the show overnight. Is that what happened?
Yeah, look, basically, we had an opportunity to start the club. The kickoff obviously had issues in terms of Brian's image, and it's a difficult one to talk about, because if I was on the show, then you can react in different ways. And I wasn't part of the show, and obviously people that were part of that project and that video in particular in the live stream, they answered it in their own ways. So it's hard for me to talk about how they've answered it. And ultimately, you have to just narrow it down and say, I'm here to, you know, I'm lucky enough to talk about football. I've done it for 8 years. I did it before the kickoff. People think I sort of started on the kickoff. Did it a long time before the kickoff. I've been doing it since the kickoff. So the kickoff comes, you know, shows come and go. And the only thing to say about the kickoff is it was of the most premium quality. It was authentic and it looked amazing. And I think it brought football fan culture in a genuine way to the masses that hasn't been seen before. And I think a lot of podcasts and live streams now, and there's a lot of them that are very similar, that aren't the same in terms of the quality, in my opinion. Hopefully the club tries to do it in our own way, and I think we do. But the kickoff was an amazing time for the football industry, and for different reasons it couldn't exist in its current format now, and that's just the way it goes.
So when that happened, then I seem to remember that the kickoff just stopped. Did you guys just stop recording? But obviously the club comes out of this, we'll get into that in a minute, but were you guys who were on there, and that's obviously part of your regular work, were you disappointed? Were you worried that this is not going to come back? I mean, the kickoff has now restarted in a similar but different format with different people, but were you thinking, oh, okay, Brian's been cancelled, this is done?
It was dramatic in that sense, because obviously it blew up on Twitter, and obviously the moment itself was...
That must have been stressful.
And obviously you feel bad for people involved as well, of course. I'm lucky from a personal point of view. I have different opportunities, and I know I was never 100% in with the kickoff, so it did. But I can see why it affected a lot of people. And you have to just say, you know, the kickoff's still going. It still looks amazing. The guests and the way they talk about football is still massively engaging. And you can only wish them the best in that regard. But the club came around as an opportunity, and you know, the club is what I do now.
Is what happened with Brian, with True Geordie, is that a cautionary tale to people in your line of work, to just go, did everyone take a moment and go, we need to be really careful with what we say here? Because, you know, we don't need to go into like the specifics of what he said, but everyone makes jokes where they don't mean it, and the reaction seemed intense. It seemed like over the top to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the reaction was over the top. I think the reaction was equally as valid, relative to relative to what he said.
Okay,
it was a valid response, in my opinion. I think he's come out and apologized.
Yeah, I
think that's authentic. I don't know what he thinks about me, but I've got a massive respect for him, a huge amount of respect for him. And it isn't, obviously you can have this bit of a trope. He isn't that kind of person to do that, or he isn't that kind of, he doesn't have those opinions. Obviously he does not have those opinions. Yeah. And he's a very, very, nice and nice guy. And I respect him massively.
I'm just going to pause for a second because I'm very proud to announce that this show has its first sponsor, and it's a good one. It's NordVPN. As the owner of a marketing agency that operates online, it's really important for me and my team to stay protected with whatever we're doing online. And that's why NordVPN is essential to the operation of my business. Now, if you're a massive football fan like me, you can't watch every game because of the ridiculous 3 p.m. blackout, but you can if you use NordVPN. You can change your virtual location to another country where that game is actually being played. You can also watch games when you're abroad. NordVPN is also the fastest VPN, so no buffering, lagging, slowing your internet down. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Ben Heath. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on a 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. I think that's why I feel it's over the top, because as I said, everyone said things they don't mean. They say jokes. They overstep the line, and I just think there should be a space for people to be able to be like, "Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. It was a mistake."
Yeah.
Which he has now done, and I know he's back on track and everything like that. But I did just wonder if there were thoughts in people like yours head going, okay, let's just be really careful with what we say, because
I think that happened. I think that happens anyway. I think even from the first day I was in the industry, front of camera, you have to have a level of respectability about what you're talking about. And but some people, it is just a mistake. Some people make mistakes.
Yeah, Yeah, and if you're spending that much time in front of camera, you're probably going to say something at some point.
It's hard. Live as well. Live is hard.
Yeah.
I do live TV every now and then, and that's hard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Very difficult.
And then people don't understand whether you mean it or whether it's a joke or not, and things along those lines. So the club then, because during that time, kickoff's not going ahead by the looks of things, and I imagine it's all up in the air, and the club was an opportunity for you.
Yeah, it started from obviously a podcast network called The Fellas, and that was just an idea internally, and we were very lucky in terms of how quickly that was executed. And within a few months, we had a basis of a set, kind of a table, 3 chairs, and obviously a nice little decor behind. And we were very, very lucky enough that a company like that were able to back us and move quickly with it.
How has the club been? So how long? Is it 18 months old?
About 18 months, yeah.
Something like that?
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah. How has it performed? Has it been as successful as you hoped it would have been when you first started it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think, look, we're lucky that we support 3 massive clubs. Chelsea and Man United aren't doing too well. City have obviously had our first European campaign where we were successful, and obviously I was part of all the live streams going into that. That is incredible ammunition, because obviously the football industry relies on stories, and you need Arsenal to have a big campaign, or you need Arsenal to fall off massively. You need a narrative or something for Arsenal fans that make videos to have something to talk about. You need something to talk about, and we're lucky that 18 months in, we're seeing the best Arsenal side we've seen in 20 years. We've seen Man United and Chelsea fall off like we've never seen them fall off in 20 years.
Yeah.
And we're very lucky that we've got, 3 fans that are all have relevant stories to talk about.
I guess you almost want the clubs that you support and those narratives, you almost want loads of success or the opposite, right? You probably don't want Man United are 3rd and having a boring mediocre season, because it's interesting. From the outside, there was criticism of you guys setting up the club, that you had abandoned True Geordie during a difficult time, and that you had set up something to compete with the kickoff. Do you have any guilt around the move that you made at the time?
No, shows come and go. Some shows are bigger than others, and you phase in and out. I was on a show. I started a show on the first company I worked at, 90min.com. That show doesn't exist in the same guise anymore, and I'm not part of it. It's just, I think people like to, especially some of these YouTube documentary makers, they love to create a narrative. They love to create these kind of dramas, like it's an episode of the Kardashians. ultimately things come and go in life. That's just the way. That's the way the world works. One day you have a job, next minute you don't have a job.
Yeah.
It's the economy. It's the waves of life.
Yeah, I own a marketing agency, and if you hire enough people and they do well, it is inevitable that people will leave to start their own thing. It's just, that's part of the situation, especially if the company at the time is struggling, which obviously was happening with the kickoff then. So you feel like a lot of that criticism was unfair, basically. It wasn't.
It's gossip.
Okay.
A lot of it is gossip from people that I've never met. And if you have an actual conversation, if you're interested in engaging in conversation, then I'm happy to have it, like I'm having with you. Yeah. But some of these people, I've never even met them.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe that's the nature of the beast.
They're trying to get views.
Yeah.
What's your relationship with Brian like? Was he annoyed that you guys went to do that?
I can't speak on what he thinks about it. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard.
There wasn't like, he's not shouting at you down the phone or anything along those lines?
No.
Okay.
Never.
But you don't have contact with him now?
No. Obviously, I see what he's doing, and massively gas at the kickoff is still going in its guys because it's important because the kickoff is a historical piece of media in the football world for the way it started, the space, for the way the quality of content that was happening. A strong football media online world in this country, the kickoff has to be part of it, in my opinion. And so does the club, and the club has an equal right to exist. There are other shows, SDS, Pitch Site, loads of other channels. There has to be a vibrant community. You can't just have one channel doing well. And the kickoff at some stage was the one channel doing well.
Is it true that you said you would fight True Geordie on a Misfits fight card?
Yeah, I did say that. It was a bit ridiculous, really, because I wouldn't stand a chance.
Okay. You don't think it'd go well?
I wouldn't stand a chance. No.
Why did you say it? Was it a joke?
Just a bit of a wind up. Yeah,
okay.
It was a bit stupid.
Okay, fair enough. Lawrence McKenna, who was one of the other big parts of the kickoff, you've probably seen or at least heard of the video he did with Mark Goldbridge where he talked about the end of the kickoff and the fact that he feels like he was the one kind of left out. The three of you went and did the club. The kickoff is now under its own guise. Do you have any contact with him still? Any idea why he sort of ended up falling between the cracks, as it were?
I can't speak on his career. I've got massive respect for how he creates the content he creates, for having a massive role in me being on the kickoff a lot. He was supportive, and I've got a massive amount of time for Lawrence in all regards. So I can't speak on what he does day to day. Would you have him on the club? Of course. It's just a matter of maybe timing and interest, and it's not always easy like that. Sometimes it's hard to get people on things like that. In terms of logistics, and some people go into the game. So yeah, of course.
Okay. If you want to watch my full podcast episode with Boovie, where we go into all things the kickoff, True Geordie, Man City, you can do so right here.